Alright, so if you've been keeping up with watching any of my videos, you'll take notice that this car does look somewhat similar to the one that I just posted. Now, about 2 years ago, I helped someone out and had installed an engine into this, which basically had all the wiring in the right places, all the nuts and bolts in the right places, all the heat shields were in the right places. Basically, it was stock with a couple minor bolt-ons. Now, since that time, the previous owner supposedly pulled the engine. They had a problem with the engine. I think it ran low on oil and ended up causing a problem. So, with that being said, they wanted to build something. So, they actually, I don't know, big turbo is on it now. They did some modifications to the motor, and well, some of those modifications were done incorrectly, and there were some issues. And I believe false information was given to the tuner, and adjustments were made incorrectly, and that was all because of mechanical issues that were not addressed and stuff being hooked up incorrectly. So, let's get into this. I'm going to show you everything that I found that's wrong with this thing so far. I haven't really done much with it since I've acquired it. I'm now finally got the opportunity to get it in. It's only been a couple weeks. We're just coming into the new year. Snow's everywhere. I should be working on my orange build. But, let's check this thing out. We got all kinds of things here. Alright, so, real quick. We do have a big turbo. It does have an aftermarket blow-off valve. It does have stock style mounts. It does not have any covers. Now, I'm a firm believer of having covers on here and keeping anything out of this, especially if you have aftermarket cams like this is supposed to have, okay? Now, initially I'm looking at this, okay? It does have some 1050s in it. Alright. 3-bar map. 3-bar tip. Okay. I'm not sure why we have this line going here, which is seeing vacuum, and then it's seeing boost when it should be on the other side of the throttle body. So this could be throwing false signals to this right here, to the PCM. So this is right here. Yeah, that's not hooked up right. Okay, guys? Take note of this. This does not go there. It goes on that pipe down there. Or if you're running a big turbo kit, you don't need this. This doesn't need to be hooked up. This just needs to see atmosphere pressure. All right? Now, with that, let's come over here. No battery hold down. That's definitely not good. Now, another thing. You're running your turbo like this. There is nothing covering this. No screen, no turbo guard, no air filter, no cold air intake with a filter. Definitely something you do not want to do. That's a bad thing, okay? It is very easy for something to get sucked into there. It could be a leaf. It could be a piece of tape. It could be a loose hose. There's a lot of air moving. This pulls in a lot of air, okay? Make sure there's something over your turbo. A filter is the best thing that can flow enough, allow enough PSI to pull through enough airflow, CFM airflow to pull through it. Screens are going to stop big things that are going to cause damage, but they're not going to stop the dirt and the other small things that get sucked in and pushed through the motor, okay? All right. The way some of these wires are run, not exactly the best thing, okay? I gotta grab this light here quick. All right. Now, I'm just looking at this thing from the top, guys. I didn't really even get underneath this thing. So, we have, I don't know, there's some little bit of grindiness here. These actually will hit right there unless you clearance for them, okay? Now, All right. Where do we have this going? Okay. They actually have their PVC valve run correctly. No catch can. I would recommend one of those. Like I said, no covers. No covers the whole way on the motor. No rear covers, no bottom covers, no side covers, no nothing, okay? Now, when we get back here, this should have a different overflow, okay? There's a lot of heat created here, and not only that, it's actually pretty tight for room. Now, this is something that I really wanted to show because it's actually pretty important. See here? See what kind of problems we got? We're already running into issues in case if we would start this. Now, I'm going to double check and make sure I can see this. Okay. All right, now you're looking down in here. This, there was a box. So this is actually not that old of a wastegate, okay? These come dark black, and you can tell that this thing has had an extreme amount of heat on it because of the discoloration. Now, something that I'm really wanting to show is if you look down there, I can see it in the camera. See the black down there? That is an exhaust leak, okay? Not only is that exhaust leak before your first O2 sensor or AFR gauge, it's also before the turbo, okay? So your exhaust pressure that's supposed to be spinning your turbo is leaking out here at the wastegate, all right? So that is a problem. Now, I did want to add this in here. Hopefully we can see this from the top. All right, look down in there. What you're seeing down here, right down here, that is a rack boot from the rack and pinion, okay? That's melted. So the wastegate was working at one time before, or this could be once it actually gets up to, I mean, these turbos, these big turbos, they will spool pressure even with a leak. So when this thing's starting to reach high RPMs, it could get to the point where it's actually spinning that, creating enough pressure with the heat and stuff, because things will expand and get bigger, and it will make the leak smaller. And then actually opening this wastegate. So we have our pipe dumped right there. Not down, not above, not below, right there, okay? It actually looks like it has the heater core AC line is actually melted a little bit. There's black carbon all over everything else down in there. And like I said, I did not even get underneath this car yet. We're just looking at some of the stuff up here on the top. Okay, we got a leak there. I can't tell if there's anything leaking in underneath here. There is black. That could be from this spewing over. That seems to actually be tight right there off of the O2 housing. Right, I'm gonna move this here just in case I do go and start this thing up. You know, you have your plastic fuel line. You know, you never know. This could be hit this. And then what's going to happen if, like, let's say you have this thing up to temp, you could end up having, you know, fuel go onto that. This hose here just pulled right off of that. It's just, these are all things that, like I said, anytime I do this, I'm always pointing out things that were done incorrectly so that you don't do it and it doesn't cause problems for you. I'm not saying, you know, pointing a finger at anybody. I'm just trying to show what's not done right. Now, you have your blow-off valve here. There is nothing hooked to this. All right, this should be hooked to here for vacuum and for boost. Okay? Now, if we get down in here, let's see what we got. Anything on this side? Actually looks like everything's kind of tight. We have a couple additions here for that. There was something I was thinking. They plugged this off. That looks pretty good. Oh, okay. Let me see here. Does this have the vacuum port on here? Yep. All right. So we have the vacuum port on the bottom of the turbo that should be running a vacuum line over to the wastegate off of a boost controller. So that's actually plugged off. All right. It's like I said, there's just a bunch of stuff going on here with this. And let's get underneath. I can't believe I'm 10 minutes into this. I'm really gonna have to edit a lot of this out. Okay. So this is supposed to be a direct fit intercooler. It looks like it's a little larger. All right, let's see. What do we see down here? Okay. All right, we got stock mount with an insert. That looks like it's pretty good. Oh my goodness. Yep. See, if you're actually running this, that right there should be where that red hose goes. But like I said, you just, I personally delete them unless you're running PCM boost. It's not something that you need. Okay, we have what looks like axle leaking grease all over the place over here. What else? That looks like the incorrect bolt. That has the incorrect bolt there on the bottom of that transmission. It should be up there on the top side of this plate. Or actually, I don't know. That bolt doesn't even go in this transmission. The stud bolts here for this. All right, so I'm in here doing a little bit more checking. We got some severely messed up throttle cable. That's actually pulled through there, and it has all kinds of fraying on the end of the throttle cable. So the throttle cable's no good, was nearly ready to break. I don't know how it got damaged. Right now what I'm working on is removing this, and it's like I got on here and this was just, there's no locks on these bolts. This stuff is extremely like finger tight. I pretty much just undid the coil to get it out of the way and give me access to get down in here. Now this one here does suck to get to, so let's see how tight it is. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Like, I did not get on this one. All right, I'm gonna get this one off. I mean, I'm checking this thing out. I'm probably going to fix a couple things. I did remove the boost solenoids and hoses. It was just easier for me to take that stuff off and get it out of the way. It looks like these are wiring for some aftermarket lighting. I mean, it's just, you know, look at this drape down in here. When you do this, make sure you run this stuff across the front or somewhere where, you know, there's not a chance of this stuff hitting something that's spinning. So I'm gonna get this wastegate off. I'm gonna double check it. Yeah. Let's see if that's tight. Since we're here. Oh my gosh, look at this. All this stuff is loose. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna fix a couple things on this. Double check it. I don't know. Is this a car that I should fix up? Is it a car that should be parted out? Right now, I mean, if this motor's no good and it has to come out for sure, that's already going to be a quite costly venture there. There is also, this also needs quite a few modifications, supporting mods to be done so that this will actually, you'll be able to use what the turbo is offering because of subpar fuel system. Like I said, it's going to need timing covers, re-gasket it if the motor has to come apart. It needs a heat shield, a throttle cable, an overflow, a dump tube. So I mean, you know, to do this thing right, you know, there's an easy, you know, 15, $2,000 there, and just some of the parts that you're going to need. So, all right, let's get this thing off. Let's take a look at this gasket. Let's see if this wastegate is even any good from getting so hot. All right, so this is what we got. I'm trying to keep from laughing here. As you see, it is how it was pulled. There's supposed to be a ring in here that the wastegate seats into to create a seal, and this was not installed. It also makes your sealing surface smaller on the outer edges, and this is like a cheaper gasket. Let me show you what should have been used. All right, well, this was all stuff that was in a box in the trunk, okay? These will work. I like them really because you can get down in there with an Allen head and you don't have to fight. The main thing is a good quality gasket, which comes with this wastegate when it's new because the box is in there. Looks like this. No way would it ever look like this. There's just no way, because like I said, this is just the cheaper gasket that was there. All right, now this is supposed to be installed here, okay, just like that, and then this gasket like that, okay. All right, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to double check this. Now that explains why there is rainbowing in the temperature on this. Rainbowing, yeah, rainbow, because of the temperature increase that this had received and the discoloration that this wastegate it has. So I'm gonna separate this mess. Man, this needs cleaned up. I'm gonna pull this apart, see what springs in here. I mean, you know, we got loose bolts, just stuff just not done right, which really is the reasoning why damage was caused to this. Man, you can see it. Look at that. Just a severe leak. You know, you're not spinning your turbo, you're not nothing, okay? Just a loss of power, loss of boost, just making this thing run harder than what it needs to do. You know, along with causing damage to other things because stuff wasn't done right. So I'm going to get the coolant bottle moved out. I'm going to double check this and see if I find anything. These are the parts that needed to be installed to make this work correctly. All right, with the wastegate disassembled, I mean, you can see extreme amount of heat getting inside here. Actually has these springs discolored for something that's supposed to be new. Actually looks like there might be some carbon buildup on these springs also. Inside here, you can see here, hopefully. I'm brushing this with my finger. It should not look like that. There's some here and there's some on here. I don't know if it was getting up around this, but it shouldn't have, or if this is from somewhere else. It seems to look like it's pretty decent. There's a piece of something in here in the diaphragm. So I'm going to disassemble this and double check it and make sure everything's all right with that also. Well, double checked everything. It's all cleaned out. I've got my gasket surfaces cleaned up there. And I made sure that they will work down there. That's all nice and cleaned up. I'm just going to install this for now. I'm not going to be running this like this. So, but anyway, we're ready to get this thing installed the way that it should be. Do a little bit more double checking on this thing yet, and just basically just test everything out. Okay, so I don't know where how can I say that? I don't know where I ended the video because it's been more than a week. I haven't really uploaded anything. I do have some other videos that are broke up. Part 1's done, and I got to finish up some things. But anyway, with what's going on with the car is, I don't know if I showed you, I did get the wastegate gasket is fixed. So that's sealed. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going over this thing, double checking some things, testing things out. I did remove the vacuum line, so there's no solenoids plugged in right now at the moment. I didn't bother. I just plugged this vacuum off. There's no sense in this. I don't need to have that hooked up to know if that works, because I'm sure there's not anything wrong with that. It does still need a throttle cable. It's actually severely damaged. As long as it lasts long enough to move the car around a couple times, we'll be good. So with that being said, I'm actually getting ready to pull this thing out, fire it up. It's been sitting here for a while. I did have it running, and without the exhaust leak, you can really hear what the issue is. And I think it might have another issue on top of that also. But it does sit there, it does run, it does idle, it starts right up. It seems like the transmission's all right. I'm going to run it through the gears real quick. It is double hood day, because it is actually pretty cold. I got to hurry up and get this done because somebody is actually on the way. So I'm going to pop this door, we're going to fire this thing up, we're going to run it through the gears, see how that acts real quick, and I'll show you guys what it sounds like. And I got to get this thing out of my shop. Starts up good. Supposed to have cams. I mean, it's in neutral, so when the fluid is cold and thick in a transmission, it'll actually spin it, the whole thing. When it's warm, once a car's warm, they won't spin as bad. Give this thing a minute and then we'll run it through the gears real quick. Alright, let's see if we have a good transmission here. No pops. She's good to go.